Welcome to UCF Knightline, your source for UCF sports and former player information.
Hello, Night Nation. This is Andrew Phegley coming to you from the 1148 studios. This is episode number 68. Joining me as pretty much most of the time.
Most of the time. Trace Trylko. Hello, everyone. Hello, Andrew.
How's it going?
Good. How are you?
I'm all right.
Good to hear.
Happy Valentine's Day from the Knightline podcast to our listeners.
That's an unusual holiday.
It is, yeah.
Outreach to the listeners.
It is, but whatever. You know, I'm sure there's some out there that are such big sport fans that they cannot have a Valentine. So I'm sure there are people out there that are like that. All right, so we're going to talk a little bit of football, of course. We're going to talk some softball. We're going to talk some baseball. We have Dredrick Snelson on
Easy
later
for you
on.
to say.
That name it's just a little bit weird. Dredrick.
Dredrick.
Yeah, so it took me a little bit there to get that out. Yeah, so we're going to talk to Eric Lopez later as well about softball. He's the voice of the Knights for
Pretty
softball
good weekend
there. Great weekend
for them,
there.
Yeah.
We're going to talk with the Central Florida Future beat writer for baseball, and his name is Matthew Saunders.
Baseball returns coming up.
Yeah, so there's all kinds of stuff. We're going to talk a little bit about basketball, unfortunately.
Do we have to?
We have to, yep.
Are we responsible
We'll have
for that?
the results
Do we have to?
of the poll that I put on UCFsports.com. I guess we can do that right now real quick. So I did this poll on UCFsports.com last week, and my question was, is it time to fire Donnie Jones? ? The choices were yes, do it now, or no, wait until the end of the season.
So you didn't give any option for people who want to keep him for another year.
Not at all.
Those were the two options.
There is no option.
How'd you vote?
Of course, I voted yes. I said, yes, do it now. And I was in the minority, believe it or not. Shockingly, and a large minority. The votes were 71.5% for no, wait till the end of the season, and 28.5% for yes, do it now. And there was a lot of conversation in that as well. So a lot of people gave their reasons why they voted either way, and I love it. It was one of the most responded to polls that I've ever posted. I don't post a lot of polls. I'm going to probably do more, actually. I may do, once every couple of weeks or whatever.
It did generate a lot of comments, and it was interesting to read. And a long-time fixture in UCF sports, Kevin Reese, who you've spoken to, who's written about UCF for years. I'll tell you what, it was reading his comments with the people that saying he must go. And in our last episode, the live show that we did with Jeff Sharon for 2 hours, the post-recruiting day show, I'd said I'd come around to your position that, the time is now to move him out. But I thought Kevin made some interesting points along the way in that scroll when he said there are only so many dollars at UCF, and what do you reasonably expect? I thought he made. People can disagree with it, but I thought he made good points.
If you saw my replies to that, you would understand that a lot of people don't think that that's the way that it is as well. UCF has plenty of money. Plenty of money. You saw it when they hired Scott Frost, number one. He's not getting a crappy sum of money. And yes, that's football. But basketball can be a huge revenue sport. Just like football can. Not just like, a little lower tier, but still. There's an arena with 10,000 seats that aren't getting filled. You could spend a little bit more money on a coach and fill those 10,000 seats at $30, $20 a piece. Have the students there. The students don't come. Imagine what that arena would look like in a team that went to the NCAA championship tournament every year and that could at least compete in our league. Imagine what that would be, and imagine the revenue that would bring in. They've got a bunch of boxes up there. There's more money. They're not. One of the replies that I gave to all this is, I think I was talking to somebody on Twitter about this, actually. This is where this reply came from. I said, UCF didn't sell anything to pay off George O'Leary and Brent Key. You didn't see them selling anything. shutting down any programs, anything. You didn't see any of that. And that's a big sum of money that they're having to pay Brent Key. I'm sure that Donnie Jones in his buyout is nothing close to that.
No.
So that's not having the money is no excuse as far as I'm concerned. I think that UCF has plenty of money. Of course, they're not going to tell everybody how much money they have, but I think that UCF has plenty of money. I may be wrong, but I strongly think that UCF has more money than they're going to let on to it, and they can pay coaches what coaches should be paid, and this needs to get done.
Well, it wasn't too long ago we were previewing the basketball season, and we were listening as Donnie Jones talked about this upcoming year, coming off of sanctions with scholarships and more depth with the team, and the AAC tournament will be here in just a few more weeks in March, and everything was positioned there. The big enthusiasm with the giant Taco Fall, 7'6", that it was going to change the dynamic. And what they lose 82-58, embarrassed again on the road at Houston. They are now under 500 on the season, 11-12. And when you look at their conference record, 5-7, and those 5 wins, they swept South Florida, they swept East Carolina, they beat Tulane,
bottom feeders,
all below UCF,
right? And
they've lost to everybody ahead of them.
Right.
So where are all of those,
And yes,
promised positives?
There are injuries. I'll give them that. There are injuries. We saw what injuries do to you in football last year, and that definitely was not all injuries, and we know that. Players play for coaches, and they don't play for other coaches. If they've lost faith in their coach, as we saw with football, they will not play for their coach. I think this team would be a much better team coached by someone else.
I think we will have the opportunity to see that.
I can't wait. I absolutely cannot wait.
Going into the season, I projected that they would win 6 games in conference. They're at 5 now. The only game left on the schedule that I see them winning is the Tulane home game.
And I was positive about this in the beginning. I said that I thought that they, and at the beginning it kept getting better and better. And wow, they're, winning these games. Wow, they're way better. It's gone. That's gone.
You actually thought, if you remember, we were recording when they were playing the game at SMU, and you said, they're hanging in there within 10.
Yeah, because I was trying to be positive.
You were trying to be positive.
Yeah.
But look at the last couple of weeks.
That's done.
UConn, Memphis. By the way, Memphis just got beat by Tulane.
Yeah, these
and
losses
UCF lost
are
by 13 or whatever to Memphis.
Completely inexcusable.
And that's the next game, Wednesday at Memphis.
Yeah, well, good luck. Good luck.
Must win.
They're going to get hammered.
They
are absolutely going to get hammered on that one.
These things don't get any easier down the stretch.
They need Danny White needs to take care of Donnie Jones right now. And that's what I think about that. And, whatever. If it has to happen at the end of the season, just get it done and get this over with and pay him whatever you have to pay him and move on. I know that Danny White has somebody waiting in the wings. I know. I don't know it for a fact, but I have a real big speculation that Danny White knows what he's going to do here with basketball. He's a basketball player. He played at Notre Dame. His brother is the coach at Florida.
The head coach of Florida.
His dad,
AD
Duke?
at Duke.
Yeah.
Yes.
So these are people that know basketball, and I'm sure it's killing Danny White. I'm sure it is. I'm sure my tweeting to him is killing him. I'm sure he hates it because I'm constantly like, fire Donnie Jones.
You're not the only one beating that drum.
No, I know, but I directly tweet Danny White quite a bit. So I think that's... And I directly tweeted Donnie Jones after this last one, asking him, Donnie Jones, what's your excuse for this one? And then...
Did he reply?
No, of course not. And then the tag, I have coined the tag, Fire Donnie Jones. That is mine. Hashtag Fire Donnie Jones.
It's gaining steam.
Someone else had hashtag Fire O'Leary for how many years? It went away and got brought back and went away.
An individual had a website.
Maybe I'm going to start a website. I'm going to start a GoFundMe for UCF to get a new basketball coach if you guys think that that's what it needs. Anyway, that's enough of that. I'm a little fired up as far as that
about
goes.
basketball. Yes, I can.
I'm just done.
Well, let's talk about something more positive. Football schedule came out.
That could be positive. Well, let's hope that it's positive.
We look forward, Football
Yeah.
365.
Right.
What's your thoughts on the schedule as you saw it come out with a slew of Saturday games, only one home game against Tulane on a Friday night?
I like those Thursday night and Friday night games. I do. Because those are national television games. And we only have one.
So shall we conclude from that ESPN has determined that this is not a program it wants on prime time?
Not this year, they don't. They had a lot of them last year on primetime national TV, and we sucked.
And before our fans get too excited about the Saturday home games, don't you get a feeling that a
lot of them are going to
will be at noon?
Yeah, a lot of them are going to be
those
at noon.
ESPN news games.
Yep. It's going to be.
So before you get excited about Saturday,
yeah,
some of those games could be at noon.
Yeah.
Glass half full on the schedule. You have the 6 home games, and then you have road games at Florida International and the trip over to Tampa. So fans in Florida have an opportunity to see 8 of the 12 games in person more easily, and most of the fan base is excited about that trip to Michigan, which may not be a very good game, but might be a great experience.
Yeah, of course it's going to be a great experience, but I mean, come on. First-year coach with a team that only has half of a recruiting class in. That game is probably going to be really, really ugly. I hope not. I mean, I hope that maybe we can, hopefully this Scott Frost offense comes together quick and in the spring and really gets rolling by that time. We're going to find a lot out against the South Carolina Bulldogs at home. You're going to see if that offense, you're going to see what it can do, because we should, if this offense rolls, even the first game, we should beat them by 40 points.
There's a big.
This can't be, we lost to Furman last year.
Can we just block that out, or we're going to have to bring it up again?
It needs to be brought up, and it needs to be, because the South Carolina State is just like Furman.
Yeah.
I don't know what their record was last year. I don't know what kind of a football team that is, but it's the FCS.
Just to be cautiously optimistic, right? I like our chances on that South Carolina State game, and I like us going to FIU and winning that game. Obviously, that's tough sledding at Michigan.
FIU
Maryland
can be difficult, though.
I know. But I like our chances in that game 4 weeks in to the new offense and defensive schemes. And I kind of like that Maryland game at home.
I say we beat Maryland.
I like that.
I'm going to call it right now.
They struggled last year.
You guys know about my record with calling things, so we'll probably. Yeah.
They struggled last year. They have a new coach. So, boy, you know what? 3-1 in September.
Yeah. Well,
wouldn't that be great?
If
3-1.
If this offense gels in the beginning early, it's going to really, really have to go early, and really gel. Otherwise, maybe our first win could come at this Tulane game. Maybe. If it doesn't.
First conference game is at East Carolina. That has become a rivalry through the years.
Yep.
And then that, as you mentioned, the Friday game versus Tulane. I don't know what's so special about that game in particular that they thought that would be. It's marked as ESPN2 or ESPNU. I don't know what's so special about that. Temple home at UConn, at Houston. So those are back-to-back road games.
Yeah,
right there.
I think it's two teams that ESPN feels sorry for, maybe, because they were both horrible last year. And Tulane beat us. Furman beat us. I'm fired up tonight. I am. I'm a little fired up.
A little edgy?
The basketball conversation got me a a little fired up.
It was not listed as first on this rundown, so we delved into it quickly.
You know that rundown that you make, is there's nothing ever set in stone once we begin.
We started talking basketball way too soon.
Andrew gets rolling, this could go any direction that I want it to.
So 9 weeks before that first bye week. Does that bother you? Concern you?
Not really, because that'll give everybody time to gel together. That'll keep it going. Sometimes that bye week is good. Sometimes it's bad. Depending on where it's at. Yeah. Whatever. I mean, it might be a nice break at that point for them. But I think that this team being new coach, new scheme, there's going to be players in there that we've never seen before. There's going to be players in there that don't know each other. There's going to be a lot going on, and I say play all of them in a row. I mean,
so you look at the schedule, forget the September non-con games, that first conference game at East Carolina, then back-to-back home games, back-to-back road games, those being UConn and at Houston. Then they go back-to-back home games again, Cincinnati and Tulsa. And then I thought this was interesting. The game at Tampa against the Cows is on a Saturday, on that Thanksgiving weekend. So it's not on Thanksgiving, it's not on Black Friday, it's on Saturday.
That's fine with me. That's the normal rivalry Saturday. That's when, most games are rivalry games. I think it's fine that that's not on Thanksgiving or Black Friday. I don't have a problem with that. I would rather it be, it was fun last year having the game on Thanksgiving and all, spending Thanksgiving tailgating. That's fun. But, it's just in a traditional spot now of a rivalry week game. Black Friday, it was kind of cool. It was at noon on Black Friday the last time. Noon on a Friday afternoon. There's a lot of people that are working. Even on Black Friday, there's people that work. So I think Saturday's better.
It seemed like there was an attempt made with the renewal of the series to establish Thanksgiving or around that time frame as that rivalry. But as you mentioned, there it is on Thanksgiving night one time. It's on Black Friday at noon another. So in trying to establish Thanksgiving as that head-to-head between UCF and the Cows, they kept moving it around. So
and there were a lot of people that were not there on Thanksgiving. Even, of course, there were a lot of people that weren't there for that game in particular last year with the way that the rest of the season, but Thanksgiving is a time to hang out with your family, and a lot of people travel, and the students aren't really there, and all
so
that
with the
stuff.
Saturday, of course, don't know the time.
The students
for that.
Still aren't going to be there, but
that gives fans locally, certainly, they've had Thanksgiving, they've had Black Friday, and for most, it is their weekend. Gives them an opportunity to take the 90-minute drive over to Tampa and take in that game.
Yeah, and it's after the Thanksgiving holiday. It's time to, let down the hair a little bit on that weekend. You're not around your family. You're done with that, and let's go and get drunk in the parking lot before you.
Does that happen?
Oh, you got to be kidding me.
I think the schedule turned out pretty good.
I drank a lot on Thanksgiving last year. I loved it. I don't even remember what we ate or anything like that. I don't know.
Did it dull your senses for the game any?
Oh, we ate here first because it was a night. It was a late game. We ate here first, and then we went to the game. And we tailgated a little bit with some cookies or something. Nothing. We didn't have a big meal. I'm good with it. I would rather it be on a Saturday. I would rather it be rivalry week on a Saturday. Done. I'm good with it.
So I think the schedule sets up pretty favorably.
And then, of course, they list the AAC championship game. And last year it's comical. Because our parking passes last year, we get all of them at the beginning of the season with your season tickets. And, of course, there was a parking pass there for the AAC championship game that, of course, after last year's schedule was going to be at Bright House Network Stadium. I should have framed that one.
It's a collector's item.
Yeah, and, put a big no mark over it, the circle with the line through it. Oh, man. Hopefully this will be better this year. I'm hoping that, I think, like I said, if the new offense, I'm not even so worried about the defense. I think I've said this before. I'm not so worried about the defense because all the defense needs to do is keep you in the game a little bit, not let the other team score because we're going to score a ton of points if it all works out. It's going to be an interesting year. This very well may not be the year that it all comes together. It may be a couple of years down the road, but hopefully this year's a little bit better and we can have some more Thursday night games and Friday night games.
Earn our place back in prime time.
Absolutely. Who wants to watch an 0-12 team? It was horrible for us to watch our team on those national television games. You think anybody else nationally wanted to see an 0-12 team?
I remember the game the week, it was in the rain. We were going up against Jacksonville. Bortles was on NFL Network for a game against Tennessee, head-to-head. Yeah, that was an exciting night of football.
Yeah,
right there. Jacksonville and Tennessee against the UCF game.
Right. It was horrible.
So, one of the most highly touted new UCF recruits is, of course, 4-star wide receiver Dredrick Snelson.
Dredrick.
Boy, we've got some names because later on when we're talking baseball, we talk about Cree Frinfrock. There's some hard names. Who chose, and Snelson chose the Knights over Minnesota, Florida, Florida State, more than a dozen other, and you had an opportunity to talk with him.
All right, Night Nation, we are talking to Dredrick Snelson. He is a wide receiver, a 4-star coming out of Miami, Florida. He just signed with the Knights a couple of days ago. Dredrick, how you doing?
Good, and you?
I'm awesome. Good to talk to you. Welcome to UCF and the UCF Knights. We're really excited to have you at UCF. Did you choose UCF or did UCF choose you?
It was easy. I chose them and they chose me.
What intrigued you about UCF? What did you like about UCF? What do you know about UCF? All that stuff.
I know it's a pretty good program. They produce a lot of first-round talent, close to home, and I feel comfortable there. So overall, it's a great school for academics as well.
Are you familiar with a guy from Miami down there named Jeff Godfrey that played at UCF?
Yes, sir.
Talk to him about UCF at all? Do you know him at all?
No, actually, Renell got in contact with me after I started. He told me I was going to love it. He can't wait to watch me play and just to do big things at UCF.
Renell Hall, is that who you're talking about?
Yeah.
Oh, cool. All right, good. Yeah, he's from down there, too. What coach recruited you for UCF?
Coach Troy Walters and Scott.
What did you like about those guys?
I like that they actually care more about me rather than football. I built the connection. I bond with them from day one when they started recruiting me, and I feel like I can trust them with my future in their hands, and they're going to take me to a different level. And
what did Coach Frost tell you about the scheme that he wants to run, the offense that he wants to run, and how you would fit into it?
I would fit perfectly in the offense. That's another reason why I chose it, because I feel like he would use me how I was supposed to be used at the collegiate level. And basically, he just wants to get the ball in my hands as much as he can. Describe your style of play. I've seen your film, but maybe some other people haven't. I would say I'm good at probably catching the ball early and breaking tackles and just outrunning guys. I think I'm a physical player. That's basically my thing. I have a lot of yards after the catch. That's been my biggest upside forever. So that's basically it. What's your biggest football accomplishment yet? I mean, you've probably been playing football for a number of years. I played college football, and I started playing football when I was in 4th grade. So what's your biggest accomplishment? What's the thing that you're proud of so far? That I'm proud of so far is becoming an unarmed American. That's been a dream, and I made it happen. What would your teammates say about you? Oh, man, they would say probably that I'm just a pretty chill guy. I really don't talk a lot. I'm pretty much easy to get along with. You can just talk to me about stuff. What can Night Nation expect from you as a player? What can they expect to see the first time they see you on the field? First time I see me on the field is the same thing. I feel like I would become a better person on the field. I would do more at the collegiate level. I would make bigger plays. I mean, they see what they're getting, but they're going to get a better version because I'm going to put in twice as much of the work and work on my craft to become a better player. So they're gonna get a good one. I promise. I'm gonna make history at UCF. I promise. That's what we like to hear. I'm excited, man. You're giving me goosebumps. Is there anything that you would like to say to Night Nation? The fans are listening. They listen to this program. What are those things that you'd like to say to them? Honestly, I would say that I love them for showing me the support that they have throughout this recruiting process. They've been on me since day one, and I have nothing but love for Night Nation. I love UCF. I love everything it stands for, everything about it. Right on. And where can the fans follow you on social media? They can follow me on Twitter at D_Snelson2 and on Instagram, DSnelson2. Snapchat is the same thing. And hey, yeah, that reminds me, actually, you made your official announcement on Snapchat, is that right? Somebody recorded me on Periscope. Oh, Periscope. I'm sorry, Periscope. So how did that work out for you, and how did you decide to do that? I mean, I didn't know somebody just recorded me while I was committing, and it just blew up from there. I didn't know I was on Periscope. Oh, okay. Well, man, thank you. I know I said it was going to take like 10 minutes, but we got it done really fast. You had all the answers, and you didn't have to wait or anything to do it. That's awesome. Thank you very much, man. We really appreciate it. So, you know what they say, what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. We don't need to know about your fun-filled weekend in the City of Sin, but we hope you'll click the ad on our website. It's right there to the left, the one that screams you have to save up to 50% off your next trip to Vegas. Just click on the ad and we promise never to talk about what happened in Vegas. This is J.J. Warden, Bert Schneider, Brendan Alexander, Brandon Howard, Cameron Stewart, Colin Bell, Jeff Sherrick, Kyle Israel, Quinton McDuffie, Quentin Hampton, Rashad Cobbs, Renell Hall,
Sire Burley,
Stephanie Bass, Terrence Plummer,
Tom James, Phil Steele, and you're listening to the UCF Knightline Podcast.
All right, guys, by the way, there is a new feature on UCFKnightlinePodcast.com this week. Contributor John Swift, good friend of ours, has put together a pretty comprehensive spotlight on the new recruits, and that is on there beginning this week. And Adrian Killens is the spotlight player of the week, and there's, kind of a nice thing there with some stats and some, just a little bit of a rundown on who he is and a couple pictures of him, and there's a little map that has a little pin where he's from. He's from Miami, of course. I think that's where No. He's the one from Daytona
Beach.
But next week, of course, will be Dredrick Snelson, who we just had on the show. Next week's featured spotlight athlete will be Dredrick Snelson.
And John is so good. Folks remember him from crunching the numbers during the football season. He finds statistics and little facts and tidbits that really give you a greater sense of a player.
And you can go to UCFKnightlinePodcast.com or KnightlinePodcast.com. Either one of those will work. It'll get you to the same place. And there's all kinds of other stuff. There's ads on the side over there that if you click, that helps us out. Las Vegas, like you just heard the ad play, they've got great specials that you can get through that website and only through that website. Deals on hotels and flights and rental cars and all kinds of stuff you want to do out there as well. And that's UCFKnightlinePodcast.com. I think so much of a spotlight is put on the podcast that people really don't ever go to the website. The numbers are what they are on the website, but I would like to make the website a little bit more, so that's why we tried to do this. This was actually John's idea, and there it is, and it's there for you to go and see, and all of our podcasts are archived on there as well, and all kinds of other stuff. So
it's worth checking out John's contributions to that, and it's a feature you're going to have up every week on the website.
Again, www.ucfnightlinepodcast.com or www.knightlinepodcast.com.
And, of course, you mentioned that on Twitter, right? You put that out on Twitter?
Maybe. Maybe I did, maybe I didn't. I'm not sure. But I will. It's on the Facebook page.
Getting new followers every day.
At UCF Knightline on Twitter. Speaking of, the guys that I have promised to send something to, I'm still going to send you your stuff. I apologize. I'm just really bad about going to the post office. I in fact, do all my shopping and stuff like online. Anything that I don't have to go anywhere and do. So that's why, guys. You will be getting your stuff. I'm sorry. I still have it. It hasn't gone anywhere. You'll be getting it.
It's piled up right over there.
It is.
It's right over there in the corner.
I'm feeling bad. I'm feeling bad.
You promised swag.
Yeah, there's 2 people that I need to send stuff to, and I apologize.
Number 17 ranked softball opened the season winning 4 of its first 5 games, Andrew. That included that 8-1 victory over number 5 Alabama, the Knights' first ever home win over a top 5 ranked program. UCF did drop a Saturday game against number 19 James Madison, losing 1-0.
I knew our players were ready to play them. The entire season we set this up to be able to have good competition and give them a chance to play these kind of teams at home, and we knew that they were ready to come out this game. Did we ever think it was going to be this final score? No. We just knew we were coming out and we were ready.
It says a lot because we're typically known as like the underdogs, and it just says a lot to beat the number 5 team in the country. And we go up against some of the best teams in the country, Auburn, LSU, UCLA next week, and for them to know that we just did that to Alabama just sets a high standards for us.
We celebrated out there, but we know that, it's a new game. The next game is a new game. It's not, we're not going to sit on, we beat Alabama, we beat the number 5 team in the country for the whole season. There's much more to the season. And our coach has been telling us over and over again in the off season, it's not about how you start it, it's about how you finish it. And we want to finish it far into postseason.
We can't thank the fans enough. When we talked about that, when they come out and they are loud and they're coming and has that energy, our players have that same energy. And the fans were fantastic. We just got to keep them coming out and keep that excitement on the field like we had tonight.
Let's talk about the Knights with the voice of UCF softball, a friend of the Knightline podcast, Eric Lopez. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me on once again, boys. Good to talk to you once again.
So 4 out of 5 in the opening weekend. Pretty good start for the Knights.
Yeah, it was. I mean, it was a very strong field, maybe the strongest field of teams that UCF's ever hosted in the 15 years of the program. When you consider the fact you had Alabama, a top 5 team in the country, one of the arguably top 5 programs in the entire sport of softball. You got a James Madison team that's top 20 in the polls, a team that hosted a regional last year, could be a sleeper to make some noise and get to Oklahoma City this year with 2 All-American pitchers. And then you had a Fordham team that's a perennial NCAA tournament team, a team from the Big Ten and Rutgers. It's a stacked field. So to go 4-1, I think is a great success with UCF, considering, we're trying to find out some questions on this team. And I think, for the most part, I think there are some positive answers moving forward for this team.
Talk a little bit about Friday night and how that played out there and what the crowd was like, because I know that it was huge compared to what's normally there. I listened to your broadcast on College Sports Live, and you did a great job. It was awesome.
Well, first of all, I appreciate that. Thank you for that. I always enjoy doing the games over there, and of course, people can get all the info there on UCFKnights.com. But you're right, the atmosphere is tremendous, and really, it was tremendous from the early in the morning, guys. And Drew, people were tailgating early, as early as noon, just kind of waiting, because UCF had an earlier game against Rutgers before the Alabama game. So people kind of got there early. The parking was just, everybody just parked cars in the outfield, left field, right field, center field. And it was a lot of Alabama fans, but a lot of UCF fans. And it was just a great environment and atmosphere. It felt like a big event feel. And the players, I think the girls talking to the players after, they fed off of that, clearly. And what was special about the game was UCF has knocked off top teams before. They've beaten Florida, as a matter of fact, in front of a sold-out crowd in 2012 when they were ranked 3rd in the nation, was Florida, and so forth. But usually their wins have been a 1-0 game, a 2-1 game, one of those tight, close games. I think the thing that was, and I know this because I've gotten feedback from people that follow the sport nationally in the last couple of days about it, is the way that UCF manhandled Alabama right from the get-go. And I think that was the thing. It was a big statement win for the program to show that they are a player in the national scene in college softball. And that's the biggest takeaway that I have from Friday night, not to mention the fact you had a lot of the former Knight players like Stephanie Best, who you had on, the Hall of Famer, was in attendance. Allison Kime was in attendance, a former pitcher for the Knights who pitched in the NPF, a champion in her own right. You had the athletic director, Danny White, there as well. He was fired up as well. So we had a lot of different people there, and it was just a real special night. And I think the people that were in attendance had a great time, and I think there were some people there that were there for the first time that probably got hooked. They were going to come back. So it was a great night for the program.
Was it a shocking win? Was it a win that was not expected, or did you expect for them to beat Alabama like that, or was it kind of a thing where it just all came together, the stars aligned, and it just happened?
I don't know if it was a surprise that they beat Alabama because, like I said, they've beaten teams ranked before. I think the surprise was the manner that they did, to the point where they jumped on them early. They jumped on them 2-0 after one. They led 7-0 at one point, and then went going away. Like, it was very clear. That maybe is the part that is surprising, and I think it may have caught the national media a little bit off guard that across the country that were watching the score and they're like, whoa, 8-1, because there were some questions about this team going into the season. Yes, they won 50 games last year, but they lost an All-American pitcher in Mackenzie Otis. They lost a senior at third base who was a 4-year starter, who was one of their top hitters, a former player of the year in the conference in Ferris Sullivan. They lost a starting second baseman who's now playing in the NPF, and Kaylee Novak. So you had some questions about this team. Can these pieces fit? And then, of course, Shelby Tournier, who's the All-American pitcher, coming back. How would she fare against Alabama? How would she fare by herself? And, she was not sharp in her opener against Liberty on Thursday, and there were some questions going into that game. Shelby's been battling some undisclosed injuries there going into preseason, and you wonder, well, if she wasn't sharp against Liberty, is she going to struggle against Alabama? But she clearly shut those questions down real quick and was fantastic. And I think Shelby set the statement again that the fact that she was a top 10 player of the year in college softball last year was not a fluke. She is legit. She is one of the best pitchers in the country. And I can tell you that there was pro scouts at the game from the National Pro Fast Pitch League, the NPF, which is the pro league for softball players. and they were there scouting. The USSSA Pride were there. They were scouting not only Haley McClenny of Alabama, but Shelby. And I can tell you from talking to people that I know that are close to the people at the Pride that they were very impressed with Shelby Tournier. So her stock keeps going up, and I think now people realize that UCF is a legit program and a player in the sport of college softball.
It was a lot of games during the week to play for softball. It was a very successful week. Did anybody come out that was, a special, performer of the week throughout the whole week besides maybe Tournier? Because we kind of expect it from her. But was there anybody that came out as an MVP of that week?
No question. Courtney Roden jumps out, sophomore out of Claremont, Florida, played high school at Eastridge. She was starting at third base. And it was a sophomore. You didn't know what to expect. She was replacing a heck of a player in Ferris Sullivan who graduated. You didn't know what to expect. They put her at the cleanup spot. Man, she delivered. Had 8 RBIs this week. Went 4 for 4 with 5 RBIs in the win against Alabama. And just a very calm kid who has great discipline at the plate. I thought she was fantastic. And I think what was exciting is you saw a little bit of a glimpse of the future of the program because Courtney Roden is just a sophomore, and she was tremendous. And then Autumn Gillespie, no relations to the head coach Renee Lourdes Gillespie, behind the plate catching was tremendous defensively. Has the best arm I've ever seen a catcher in the UCF softball program. Gunned down 3 base runners, 2 of them at first base while they were leaning a little bit, and then another one they tried to throw at second base. She has a tremendous arm. She's a great weapon defensively, and that's why she's starting at catcher. So it's exciting to see some of the young players that you wondered how they would respond, to the big stage, and they responded very well. And then, of course, Jeannie Yavari, the reigning American Conference Player of the Year, the DP, was fantastic. Linnea Goodman, the leadoff hitter, got on base and really set the offense going for UCF. And that's what's exciting to me going about this weekend is you saw some of the offensive players, maybe as deep of a lineup if they've had. It's a different offense than UCF softball has had in a while. Usually UCF has a lot of speed at the top and at the bottom, try to manufacture runs and slap their way into some runs. Now they've got some hitters that can, smash the ball for home runs and getting doubles and extra bases and drive in runs and play for big innings. And that's a little different now for UCF softball. Really haven't had that since Stephanie Betts played back in from 2005. So that was, to me, other than Shelby, that was the other big stories from an offensive standpoint. And then we talked about it. Mackenzie Otis graduated. Who would step up as the other pitchers behind Shelby? And then you got a kid like Manemi Calixto, 6 shutout innings in a victory against Fordham, an NCAA tournament team. She got a win as a start against Rutgers, has a good drop ball, keeps the ball down, hit the strike zone. So while she's not Mackenzie Otis, I think UCF feels pretty good about what's behind Shelby, and I think they'll get some quality innings from the other pitchers on the staff behind Shelby. So that's why I think it was a very successful weekend, because I think you saw some positive signs moving forward, because this team is only going to get better.
UCF came into the season ranked number 17, winners of 4 of the first 5 in the opening weekend. Does the Saturday loss, the 1-0, diminish in any way the start, and what do you expect to see happen when the next set of rankings come out?
No, the loss was disappointing, but from the standpoint that they could have won the game. The Knights against James Madison you're talking about. James Madison is a heck of a ball club. They're ranked 19th in the country. They have 2 All-American pitchers. So that's a traditional 1-0, 2-1 type of game between those two teams. It's the 3rd year in a row they played, and it was a similar type game, and UCF had a chance. Bases loaded in the first inning with 1 out and didn't deliver a run. And when you're facing an All-American pitcher like Megan Good is for James Madison, you got to convert, and they didn't. And it was a pitcher's duel, and James Madison just happened to get that one big hit on the home run, and they pulled it out. But that's a quality team at James Madison. It may not sound exciting, but when you look at the non-Power 5 schools, as far as the top teams in college softball that are not in a Power 5, the 3 teams that stand out, I think, for many are Louisiana Lafayette, UCF, and James Madison. I think those are the 3 top teams. So, no, it doesn't really, I think, affect them. I think when you look at the polls when they come out on Tuesday, I'd like to think with that win with Alabama, UCF will move up. How much they move up? I would say maybe 2-3 spots, maybe in that 13-14 range. Certainly if they would have beaten James Madison, I think they would have had a shot at the top 10. But traditionally the pollsters tend to be conservative with moving teams up and down. So, that would be my kind of projection with that, as far as what's the rankings will be ahead for the girls, who are, by the way, are about to set up for an interesting next week or two, because all week long they're going to be playing ranked top 25 teams, and that's the thing. They're going to get a lot of opportunities to skyrocket in the polls, because the opponents coming up are as good as it gets in sport.
Talk a little bit about that. An unusual start time coming up Wednesday at the softball complex, a 10 a.m. start. Number 4, Auburn comes to town, and then UCF goes off to Palm Springs, California. Games against Texas A&M, UCLA, Arizona, LSU, and Washington. You have to tip your hat to the coaching staff and to the program, really beefing up the schedule even more, really trying to make a statement.
You're absolutely right, Trace. And, the Auburn, first of all, I think Auburn's going to be ranked. When the new polls come out, I think Auburn will be number 2 in the country going into that Wednesday morning. And that game was originally scheduled for a Tuesday 5:30 game. Auburn had some sort of late change in their traveling issues or something like that, so they got moved to Wednesday morning. And because UCF can't play that game Wednesday night, they're flying out to California on Wednesday night. So they decided to play it Wednesday morning. UCF wants to get that game in. They want that RPI game and the opportunity to face an Auburn team that's maybe the best offense right now in college softball. That is going to be the challenge for UCF on Wednesday. Auburn was setting records this weekend. They've scored already. In fact, they've already scored more runs this weekend than a couple of teams in Division I did all of last year, which tells you all you need to know about Auburn. But you're right, it's a challenge. And then they go out to California. That's the premier college softball tournament in the sport. It's really the who's who of college softball that gets only allowed to go play at the Mary Nutter tournament. So it's an honor for them to get it. It tells you that this program has arrived nationally when they are being invited to play at the Mary Nutter tournament, because that's a very selective tournament, as you read off that list of those teams. And we're not even talking about the other teams that are in that field that UCF isn't playing, but it is a stacked field, and it's going to be a challenge for this team, no question. When you look at the fact Texas A&M is a team that's a top 25 team, UCLA is a perennial power, LSU is a national title contender this year, Arizona maybe the most historic program in the history of college softball, and then Washington's a top 20 team. So it's a challenge for this team, but I think it's a good challenge. And I know that the coaching staff felt they beef up the schedule because they felt they should have hosted a regional last year, and they didn't. And one of the reasons they were given, which I didn't necessarily say was a bit of a cop-out from the committee, but was the lack of, quote, top 50 games or top 50 wins, if you will, to host. Now, I think that's personally a weak excuse. I think they were looking for an excuse to not put UCF in. I think they wanted to put a team in that they could bust 3 teams closer to regionals, and they couldn't find 3 teams to bust to UCF. But that was the reason they gave to the coaching staff, and I think the staff also realized we're going to give the committee, we're going to force the committee to make us host, and we're going to play the best teams in the sport, and we win games. You have no choice but to make us host. So I think that's part of the message, and I think they want to challenge themselves, and I think also the rest of the country is saying, you know what, we want to play UCF. That's a quality game. They're one of us, so why not play them? And so it's a benefit for all sides. It should be an interesting week.
Earlier you mentioned new athletic director Danny White out at the softball complex to take in that Alabama game. A couple weeks back, he made news by giving a contract extension to the women's soccer head coach. When might we expect him to do the same for softball?
Well, that's a great question. Hopefully maybe after the season, right? I mean, that's kind of what he did with Tiffany Robertson-Hadak, who's talking about women's soccer coach. She got that extension right after their season. So I would assume what he'll do is he'll supervise this team this season. And I think if things go well this year, which it's expected, I would like to think that he would give her an extension. I think she's earned that. I think anybody you don't have to be a softball expert to kind of see from afar what a great job Renee Gillespie's done building this program from scratch, and now to the point where they won 50 games last year, was a top 16 team in the country. They're off to a great start here, an attractive home schedule, and it's one of the top teams in the program, led by an All-American pitcher, and the recruits are getting better and better. So I think the future is bright for the program. So I think I agree with you. I'd like to think that something gets done at the end of the year, because I'll tell you guys, if you don't, the more wins UCF gets. I think the other Power 5 school jobs, if they open, I think you may hear Coach Gillespie's name pop up. So I think and I think Danny's smart. I had a chance to talk to him briefly. He threw out the first pitch Thursday against Liberty. He knows the game of softball. He knows all the sports. I think that's the big takeaway I have from him. I think he's He's not an AD that's just going to lip service all the sports. I think he generally knows he will help all the sports out. So I expect something maybe, hopefully, by the end of the season.
What kind of a team would you call UCF softball? Would you call them an offensive powerhouse, a defensive powerhouse, or are they kind of something in the middle?
Well, I think it's always pitching. I think it starts with pitching. I think traditionally they have been dominant in the pitching. That's as far as they're going to go. Going back to Lindsey Enders, who was a teammate of Stephanie Beth. Going back to Allison Kime, who led UCF to a Conference USA championship in 2008 and knocked off number 1 Florida. And then she went on to play in the NPF for the Rockford Thunder, won a championship with Kat Osterman. Then Mackenzie Audis, who has all the records currently in pitching. And now Shelby is an All-American. I think that's their identity of the program, which is with a solid defense behind them. They were a top 5 defense last year, fielding percentage. I think they'll be around that same number again this year. And I think the offense is coming around. You know, in softball, I kind of would give you guys the parallel to football. You always hear about football and how do the quote-unquote mid-major football programs compare to the Power 5 and how do they compete. And I think you've heard the theory. It's not about skill positions. UCF can always get skilled position receivers. You can always get running backs. In football, the difference between Power 5 schools and the mid-majors is usually at the line of scrimmage, the offensive line and defensive line, and the depth that the big schools have. Well, in softball, it's about the depth of bats. How many quality bats can you get? And I think UCF has been playing catch-up there, and I think they're making up ground on the big schools as far as when it comes to quality bats in the offense, and I think that's starting to come around, and why I think UCF has now become a top 20 program, whereas before they were a good program, but they weren't top 25 because they didn't have the depth of quality bats that you needed to be successful on a consistent basis. But with recruiting and the exposure and the success they've had, that's certainly now they're starting to make up ground there.
You cover softball, of course, but also follow the UCF baseball program. I had an opportunity recently to talk with head coach Terry Rooney. What were your observations of that conversation as the Knights baseball season gets underway Friday at home against Siena?
He was very reflective, and I think he likes this group. I know he told me that this was the best fall that they've had from a competitive standpoint. I think he likes the competition that's been with this team. A lot of new faces, but guys that are very hungry to prove a point. I think he was aware, obviously, just like everybody else, is disappointed with the way last season ended, and I think he looked back and see what things could be done to correct that, and I think he feels he has more quality arms in the bullpen than he had last year, where, let's be honest, he only had really 2 guys he trusted, and he kind of acknowledged that, in Hukari and Parker Thomas. I think he feels he has better quality arms in the bullpen this year. He's very high in Creed Finfrock. Can Creed Finfrock get to be that Friday night's level? And I asked him about that in the interview, and you look at guys like Ben Lively and Eric Skoglund, when they first started, they were weekend guys that were kind of trying to establish themselves in the weekend rotation, and then that following year they took that next step and became a, quote, ace of the staff, a Friday night guy that you could hand the ball to. So I think that's what Coach Rooney expects from Finfrock. They need consistency from Robbie Howe, but I think he likes some of the athletes. He likes Bozeman, the shortstop, who made, I think, 4 errors and at the level he was at before. So I think he likes this group. I think he knows. I think he's been disappointed with the way last season ended, and I think that's certainly in his mind, but I think he's made some tweaks. I like the fact that Brandon Romans is back on the staff. He's the new assistant coach, former player UCF, was a volunteer coach before he went on to Jacksonville State. Now he's back. And I know Brandon very well. I covered Brandon when he played here. I went to school with him. I think he will make a big impact for this program because I do see where something about players reacting and really relating to a coach that played at the same school that you're currently at. Brandon Romans can relate to every player on that roster on and off the field. Everything that those players currently are going through, he's gone through. And I think that'll help big time for this program. So, I know there's a lot of questions and a lot of new faces, and certainly they got a tough schedule with going to Rice, and they got to go to Corpus Christi on the road early, so we'll see. But, it's I think the guys feel pretty good, and it'll be interesting to see which guys step up. Some guys, Matt Fiorio, obviously, is their best offensive player. Can a guy like Logan Heiser, who's going to get more playing time, showed kind of signs there at catcher, can they get enough offense? I think that's the biggest question for me. Where is the offense going to come from? Lost a lot of bats last year, but I know they feel pretty good about a couple of the kids. So that's the beauty of college baseball. New faces every year, and we'll learn some new faces, and hopefully enough guys step up and hopefully can lead UCF back into postseason.
Baseball Media Day coming up on Wednesday this week. I'll be there. I'm assuming you're going to be there as well?
Yeah, it's a doubleheader day for me, right? Because I got the morning game with Auburn at 10 a.m., as you mentioned, breakfast with the Knights. So, and then from there I'll head over to Media Day. So it'll be it's a unique double dip, but I always look forward to it. I always enjoy the spring and the back and forth with baseball and softball. So I do. I love this time of year, and it's always fun to be out there at the complex or out at the baseball park. So it should be fun. And then, of course, they have their season against the NO opening. So it's hopefully more fans come out and support both sides and make a weekend out of it. It's a fun time, and it also helps kill time before the football season.
Absolutely. So, Eric, tell us a little bit about how fans can hear you besides on the softball broadcast. You do a lot of other stuff.
Thanks. Yeah, you can certainly listen to me on Saturdays, 11 a.m. to 1 p.m. on Sports Talk 1080 The Team, Sports Talk Florida Insider Show. We had Terry Rooney on this past Saturday. We talk a lot of UCF stuff, basketball, football, baseball, softball. So that's certainly a show you want to keep up. I also write a little bit on the side for Orlando Sports Daily. It covers a lot of Orlando sports. Also got a blog now in the Circle blog at the WordPress, where I do a lot of my softball content. For all those softball fans looking for content, you can go there. But the best way to kind of follow me is on Twitter, Eric Lopez. You'll get all that information and up to date on stuff. And of course, UCF softball people go out to UCFKnights.com and get the details. You can subscribe. I know, Andrew, you did that. Subscribe there to the College Sports Live, and you'll get, for the home games, video broadcast of all the home games. Every home game will be have video and broadcasted on UCFKnights.com on the all access there, as you mentioned, CBS Sports Live, and then we'll have select road game audio coverage as well this season. I know we're going to Houston for a series. We're going up to Tulsa and hopefully postseason and beyond. So it should be always a fun time and a fun year.
Well, thank you very much for joining us. We always love to talk to you. We love to have you on here, and I hope you'll do it again soon.
Anytime, Andrew and Trace, you know it, and certainly appreciate it. Appreciate you talking softball. I know the players and the coaches always appreciate the coverage. We had a lot of great coverage this weekend with Bright House Sports Network, and we had, I think, Channel 9 was in attendance, and Orlando Sports Daily was there, and I know UCFSports.com covered it on their message boards. Heck, we had Night fans standing out there in the fans, so it was a fun time. So, and I appreciate you guys kind of also spreading the word out there to the fans. Really do appreciate that. And anytime you need me, I'll be there for you. Absolutely.
Thank you very much. So you travel a lot for work and fun. Have you ever thought about having just a little bit more insurance? TravelX gives you the peace of mind so you can take care of your family and loved ones. Click the link on our webpage. I'm just saying, accidents happen.
In 2015, baseball climbed as high as number 6 in the rankings, jumping out to a 10-0 record, 20-6 before league play began, only to stumble to a 10-14 mark in the American, 31-27 overall. Early exit from the league tournament, but a new season beckons. Siena comes to J. Bergman Field this Friday, February 19th, for the season opener. And Central Florida future baseball beat writer Matthew Saunders joins the conversation for a preview of this year's Knights. Matthew, thanks for joining us.
Thanks for having me.
Your latest article is titled 13 Seniors Gone, UCF Baseball Brings New Talent on Deck. Talk about what you see in this upcoming season.
Well, as you know, a heavy exit of seniors last year, lost 13 seniors last year. We only have 2 seniors coming back in Sam Tollefson at first base, and we'll have left-handed pitcher Harrison Yukari returning as well. There's going to be a lot of junior college players stepping up into roles. There's Ryan Creel, the junior college transfer that you're going to see have some action at second base. We had a great pickup in shortstop Brennan Boozman. He was the 2015 NJCAA Division I National Defensive Player of the Year, so he'll help out up in the middle. There's going to be some other junior college transfer players coming in, Campbell Scholl, right-handed reliever Nick McCoy. Those are going to be some guys that are going to come in and have an immediate impact, says Coach Rooney. And, we're going to also see a lot of freshmen. Coach Rooney's talked about Matthew Micah. He's an incoming freshman who's going to be playing a couple different positions And he said that Coach Rooney said that Matthew Micah is going to be a player that is going to come in and have a big role right off the bat as a freshman.
Now, junior college players in college baseball, I'm not horribly familiar with college baseball. I'm more of a football guy, obviously. But when they bring junior college players in, I assume that they're expecting them to contribute right away. There's a lot of junior college players in this class. Is that Rooney wanting to make improvements right away with those guys?
Well, absolutely. You get those junior college transfers to come in and make an immediate impact. The circumstances that the Knights are facing, losing those 13 seniors, you need guys that are going to come in and be able to start right away. With bringing in those junior college guys, it's not only that they're going to be making an impact, they're also going to be pushing the returning players to get better. And UCF has had success in the past going to junior colleges to get players. Dylan Moore and Zach Rogers, two great players for the Knights last year, were both junior college transfers. So Coach Rooney has said before that the basis is always going to be with bringing in high school players and developing them. But with an exodus of 13 seniors last year, you're gonna need those junior college guys, and you're going to need to go out and scout and get those guys that are going to be ready to play, that have 2 years of playing baseball under their belt, to make an immediate impact in this new season, especially with losing the amount of players that the Knights did last year.
In college baseball, the Friday night starter is so important, and stepping into that role and hopefully successfully for UCF will be sophomore right-hand pitcher Cree Finfrock, the hardest name on the Knights to say every season, Cree Finfrock. Talk about him and talk about the rest of that weekend rotation. That seems to be a question mark going into the opening series against Siena. Who do we see on Saturday and Sunday, and how do you look at the rotation and the pitching staff?
Well, Cree Finfrock is definitely going to be at the top of the rotation, but it's going to be one of the cornerstones for the night. He was the only player to be named to the preseason All-AAC team. He threw a lot of innings last year. He got a lot of experience as a freshman. He's gearing up for a stellar sophomore year. Other guys that the Knights are going to look for, you're going to be looking at possibly Harrison Hikari stepping into a bigger role than he might be used to. He only started one game last year. You're missing Zach Rogers. That's your big key that you're going to be missing. So it's still a question mark as to who's going to come in and fill that void. You have Robbie Howe returning. He's definitely going to be one of the more experienced players. He's a junior right-handed pitcher, so look for Robbie Howe and Cree Finfrock to head the charge. But there's going to be some question marks as to the rest of the rotation and how they're going to be able to fit in. It might even be, taking some players that have been relievers in the past and having them step into a bigger role and maybe start some games.
This team went as high as number 6 in the rankings last year, but 6 also plays an important role this year in that UCF projected 6th in the American. The league ranked number 3 in baseball's RPI. And you just said question marks. It seems like there's a lot of uncertainty on both the pitching staff and offensively as well. Influx of new people, freshmen, a lot of new faces. We're not quite sure what we're going to see. It's going to be a work in progress for this team.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, like I said, it's going to keep going back to you lost 13 seniors. Last season didn't pan out the way you wanted to. You lost some heartbreakers at the end of the season. We were picked to finish 6th out of 8 in the AAC. So this season is going to have a lot of question marks, and it's going to be a real test to see how Coach Rooney can get these JUCO transfers and these incoming freshmen, and along with his returning players, it's going to be a test to see how well they're going to be able to mesh together. They've got an early road trip. They're going to be going out to Corpus Christi, Texas, to play 3 games out there. So Coach Rooney alluded to that as kind of a team-building series, seeing where everyone fits in, trying some new players out in some different positions. But like you said, 6 out of 8 in the AAC, so I guess there's only nowhere to go but up, and we're hoping for a surprisingly good season.
Is there anybody that you would pick as a kind of a preseason offensive weapon? Anybody that's really gonna hit the ball well and excite people?
Well, catcher Matt DiOrio had a great season last year. He's one of the more experienced players on the Knights. He's a junior, so Matt DiOrio behind the plate batted .308 last year. So look for him to step up to the plate and knock some runs in. You lost a lot of offensive firepower last year, most notably Dylan Moore, Jamarcus Woods. You're going to be feeling that impact early on, but you're going to see other people step in. But I think Matt DiOrio is a safe bet that he's going to bring his bat this season, and he's going to be knocking some runs in and hitting for average.
In reading your article on the Central Florida future, the sense I got from the quotes that you got from head coach Terry Rooney was that maybe he was cautiously optimistic. What was your sense of the conversation and his demeanor? How do you feel he looks at the team he's assembled?
Oh, well, I think you put it great, cautiously optimistic. That's definitely what you want to do. The way you want to approach a new season when you've got all these new players coming in. With all of these junior college players, you really don't know how they're going to fit in, how they're going to adapt, what about their game is going to change when they come to UCF. And so you can't be anything more than cautiously optimistic, but I feel the outlook is good. He's got a lot of early season games that are winnable games. You always have the home and away with Florida. That's always the first big real test for the Knights. But last year, the real struggle was going into conference play and maintaining the high level of play they did for the first half of the season, and then coming into conference play and just kind of dropping the ball. So it's really going to be a stamina test to see if the Knights are able to mesh these new players and go the distance this season and carry their success, not just in the regular season, but through that into the American Athletic Conference Championship.
And as you mentioned, the American, it's number 3 ranked baseball conference last year in the RPI. It's a tough league, game in and game out, the home and away series. It's a challenge for all of the teams that are playing baseball in the American, and UCF faces that in the second half when they go to conference play, that it's a tough game every game.
Yeah, it's a tough game every game. You're really going to have to fight and claw your way out of some of these wins. I think as long as the Knights can go ahead and try to get most of the series that they're expected to win and win those, you're going to have a tough time with Houston. Tulane's very good this year. East Carolina will be a force to be reckoned with as well. So there are some schools with a lot of talent that you're going to be going up against. But there's no reason that the Knights can't get into the top half of the American and stay there for the entire season if they play well and these JUCO guys come in and make the impact that Coach Rooney wants out of them.
Matthew, tell us how folks who follow baseball can follow you and keep up with your coverage during the upcoming season.
Yes, my Twitter handle is @ClassicSmith. That's ClassicSmit, or you can also follow the Central Florida Future at Central Florida Future Sports, and we'll have updates from the baseball season all season long.
All right, looking forward to it. Thanks, Matthew.
I appreciate you having me. Thank you, guys.
And now, news and notes from the world of UCF sports. Women's basketball loses 95-71 at Tulsa. Earlier in the week, the Knights fell to Memphis 69-52. UCF is now 2-12 in the American and 5-20 overall. Up next, Tulane comes to town for a Wednesday night game at the CFE Arena at 7 p.m.
Men's soccer has a busy spring slate of scrimmages. Sunday, they lost to Orlando City B of the USL 4-0. Next up, closed exhibition game against the MLS's New York Red Bulls at the Omni Resort at Champions Gate on February 20th.
Women's golf finished 10th at the UCF Challenge at Eagle Creek Golf Club. Up next, the All-State Sugar Bowl Intercollegiate in New Orleans beginning February 21st.
Women's soccer added 9 new recruits, 5 from Florida, 1 each from Sweden, France, and Finland.
Women's tennis falls to North Florida. The Knights are 3-2 on the season. Up next, UCF travels to Tulsa on February 20th.
Slew of top 8 finishes. Several event titles marked track and field success at the Music City Challenge. Meantime, sprinter Janae Bellamy was named the American's Female Track Athlete of the Week after track and field posted 13 top 5 finishes and 14 personal records at the Scarlet and White Invitational in Boston. Up next, the American Championships in Birmingham, Alabama, beginning February 28th.
Rowing's officially back in the water, scrimmaging against Louisville on Friday.
Volleyball added Isaac Raphael, a UCF alum, as a volunteer coach.
Men's tennis knocks off North Florida at the UCF Tennis Complex. The Knights are now 2-3. Up next, home to Florida Gulf Coast at 2 p.m. on February 19th. All right, Trace, I think that's going to do it. This has been episode number 68 of the UCF Knightline podcast. I'm Andrew Phegley.
I'm Trace Trylko. Go Knights!
Charge on.
UCF, charge on to the field. With our spirits, we'll never yield. Black and gold charge right through the heart. Victory is our cry.